Thank you so much. Where's Shagun? I was looking for her. Shagun came here, 13-year-old, and gave me a goosebumps that this is 13-year-old and we're going to talk about AI here.
Check.
Not sure whether we understand them. I think something similar I remember, Shagun, when you were speaking. My son is in first year of engineering, and they have this large campus, they don't let them go out. So one of the doors, they have 2 days off, and they said, Papa, I want to go out to the nearby city. I said, okay, then there's a long process. They went through the process. I have to give approval on the internet and all those things. And then they went out to the nearby city, Indore. So I said, Beta, you are going to be in Indore for 2 days. Whichever place you visit, please make a list, because next time when we come, we also can see those places. The response is, Papa, we are here to eat. We're not going anywhere. And they bought the room next to the shopping mall and they ate for 2 days. So I think we don't understand really the generation, what 13-year-old or the 16-year-old guy, the kind of mindset what they have. But I think we're trying to do something here for them as well, because they are going to be eventually the consumers of everything. Everything since morning is about AI. So many reports, wherever you have seen. The CAGR, I'm a Gujarati guy, I understand money a lot. So CAGR, the cumulative average growth over next 7 years. Any report you find which is less than 20, there might be 2 more tickets to Southeast Asia. Every report says minimum 20%, and there is a reports which goes that 35% CAGR for AI kind of businesses. All the businesses, you can leave them behind. Every investment is coming in form of AI. But where is the investment going? I'm just taking few minutes to set the context that what I'm going to speak or talk or extract the things from this big brains here. That where are we going to go? Where is the investment happening? Everybody knows that when you want to do something on AI, you need huge money. The infrastructure, the payments, and all those things are huge. I heard that Microsoft is poaching for Google talent, and last week, in short, one of the snippet was that 10 million they're offering to developers. 10 million a year. That's the kind of money they're investing. If such money is required for talent acquisition or infrastructure, what is that they're going to develop? One of the TED videos, I saw something which they call it long tail problem of AI. What is long tail program? The most of, or Pareto you can think of, the 80-20, the 80% of investment is going only in the 20%, and rest of the things are still not attended. One example which came out, the friend of mine, he runs a pizza chain. And if you see the billing in the evenings, this set of pizza, that pizza, that pizza, that pizza, and then there's times when the customer wanted a specific pizza, but they don't have the ingredient. I was thinking whether this guy, if he gets an AI kind of system, which tells him that Monday evening, these are the set of pizzas, Tuesday, Saturday, Thursday, day-wise, and which time, who comes and what kind of pizzas should be done, he should have right ingredients already in the place. But I'm sure this guy is not being attended at this point of time. The majority of money where it is going is in web search, advertisement, whether you do or you understand or you don't understand, you are already being worked upon. So these are the areas where the most of the money is going. So there is no inclusive AI as of today. J. Chaudhary sir, you are here. Couple of things you said, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are all sitting in India. And at that point of time, I remembered something, that humans, how they're important. Aryabhat found 0. What is the contribution of India? So this is slightly a side talk kind of thing. And I'll try to speak a verse or a shloka, not too good in the Sanskrit, but I will see if I can. And I'll ask if anybody has heard of this. So this is what it goes. Anybody has heard about this Gopi Bhagya shloka? Heard of this? Gopi Bhagya? Gopi Bhagya Madhuvrata, Shringi so Dahi Sandigda, Khala Jivita Khavata, Galahala Rasandhara. This is, pronunciation obviously was bad. Actually,
भाग्य मधुव्रात शृङ्गिशोदधि सन्धिग खलजीवितघाताव गलहालारसन्धर.
Anybody has heard this before? The human will never get replaced. I get the feeling after hearing this. This is 1600 AD, so something around 1800 years ago, Haridatta wrote this. Grihacharini was a document. What got embedded in this, you will be really surprised. I'll give you a clue. If I were to ask how many colors are there in rainbow, what do you remember first? Very simple. If I have to ask you, how many colors are in rainbow and which are those colors? What is the first word comes to your mind? Vibgyor, isn't it? The codification. The codification has happened in the shloka. The shloka is in praise of Lord Krishna. That Lord Krishna, please protect us, all those, that's a meaning. But this has a value of pi for 32 decimal points. Value of pi is embedded in this up to 32 decimal points. Cut pi, the system which was developed by Haridatta. All you have to do is very simple thing. Ka, kha, ga. You write it up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, up to 9 and 10. Then again, whatever is left, you write again, you write again, you write again. First word. So go, P, bhagya. So go, ga gets 1, 3. Ka, kha, ga. You remember? So ga gets number 3. So that's where the pi value starts. P, go P. It comes in after second line. So it gets value of 1. Cut pi the system, if you look up, all you have to do is map these words, ka, kha, ga, into 1, 2, 3, 4. You speak, you recite the shloka, and you get a value of pi up to the decimal of 32 decimal points. So human values are embedded in our Indian system amazingly. I think some point of time, we as a senior, and the new brains like Shagun and my son, they're going to bring out that side of the story, whereas we will have a responsibility to preserve our side of the story together if we confluence. We'll talk a lot about it, the AI, the kind of impact which it has had on all of our lives. We might have been influenced by those things. So we'll talk about that as well. The inspiration, where does it come from, such things? The innovation. And if all things are in place, what are the imperatives? 5I is what we want to talk today. And so this coding system has worked so well, but old people like me, now memory is a problem, and I think this cheat sheets, though in school I never used those things, but I thought, let me use this here. And I have a couple of questions. Let me start off, but with first I, the impact part. And I think impact part, Sachin, I would like to start with you. Sachin has worked with NASSCOM Regional Council, broader knowledge. And Sachin, I would like to ask you, what do you think is the impact of disruption of this AIA, whatever we keep talking, when people are moving from this traditional models to, let's say, quote unquote, AIA, artificial intelligence and automation. What do you think is the impact?
Yeah. First of all, I think good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start on a positive note. If a 13-year-old can talk on AI, I will say the impact is positive. Because this is the first time on deep tech technologies I have seen a 13-year-old talking. The traditional way was we used to call industry experts to talk on deep tech. Now we have 13-year-old talking about it, and very well said by Shagun. This question actually sets the tone for panel discussion because it's a wider question. There has been a lot of fear on AI replacing human beings. And as we keep on dealing, and we were having a side chat, one theme that emerges out of it is AI is not going to replace any one of us. Again, a positive note for all of you. But AI is certainly going to create disruption for people who don't know how to use AI. So that's the point that I want to start about. And there are 3 or 4 aspects I would like to talk about, Harish. One is the workforce dynamics. I think there has been a lot of discussion about jobs going away. McKinsey recently conducted survey on 800 occupations and the processes which can be replaced by AI. And their outcome is they said 30% of processes in 60% of occupations can be completely replaced by AI. But 30% is a smaller number. That means we still exist. So it's a phenomena that artificial intelligence and human intelligence can coexist. But I think it is important that we need to know where AI can add value. So that is about workforce dynamics. Second thing is the impact on economy in general. Dr. Chowdhury very well said, and I would like to talk about the advent of information technology in late 80s when personal computers were introduced. And I think he being the first employee of STPI, as he talked about, that time also there was fear about these blue-collar jobs getting replaced by remote, sophisticated technology and everything. And today here we are talking about multi-million jobs created. And Indian IT systems, I mean in NASSCOM we take pride of saying that it's a 250 billion economy created because of IT. So I'm saying AI will create new economies. It will create new industries. Some industries will go through challenges. So that is the second part, which is the economy part of it. Third area where it will definitely create impact is organization needs to go through overhaul. I think I was chatting with Hasit and other members here. AI will certainly necessitate a way of looking at processes which will be disrupted and how as an organization we are adopting those processes. There needs to be a change in terms of mindset and also process re-engineering. That is one area. Fourth area, I think I'll talk about the whole skilling and cross-skilling. And I think we have a lot of university partners here. I think again, Dr. Chowdhury and Mr. Malani also talked about it. It's high time that we get into AI-led education now, how we are really skilling our forces around it. Last but not least, and I'll spend more time because we have one more question coming on this, is the whole ethical aspect around AI because impact is huge. We already see a lot of deep fakes and other things which are coming out of it. So AI needs to be used for right purpose and responsible AI is going to be very, very important for that purpose. So news is, it's a good news. Positive impact, but needs to be handled carefully.
I think both the sides you said, the positive part, and I think being an executive coach, I'm trained to think only positive. So we'll go with the positive. I forgot about the negative piece already. Hasit, next question I would like to ask you. I think we'll go with the second I. We had a first of impact. We'll talk about the influence. I'm sure this AI discussion is happening every time in all the organizations. And we are always talking about we need new people. We need new people, new technology. They should be aware of it. How are you going to rethink and reshape the talent management process? I mean, when I say rethink, we're talking about the existing set of employees who might have to undergo the trainings and reorient themselves, and reshaping the whole talent management that, right from the university till their position. What's happening in the organization at this point of time?
I think it's very important we abstract the current AI phenomena in a right manner. And I try to explain this in a form of a impact on creator economy. I think term creator is a derived term which I am using from generative. Correct? So when you say generative AI, but to make us understand, I use a creator economy impact. And let me explain what creator economy means in parlance of AI. Because there are 5 kind of creator functions which is deeply impacted by this technology. And I bucket into 3 plus 2 category. Let me explain first 3, which is getting disrupted in a big manner, and thus it needs to be acted fast. First is the creator of code. Okay, and it is a CIO function and IT as an industry. So I am giving the function as well as the industry impact. So I think this is deeply impacted, and rapidly this needs to be addressed and adopted. Second is a creator of the content. So content is a media and entertainment industry and function-wise marketing and sales and marketing function, correct? We create a lot of content around that space. Third creator economy element is a creator of response, which is primarily customer service function, correct, across the industry, where people are responding to certain things. These three things are getting disrupted. I'm using term disruption to allude to the fact where the efficiency gain will be significantly high. And thus, the people who are part of these functions will have to adopt this technology faster than any other functions to avoid the disruptions, because it will be coming with such a high force and velocity, you will have to act fast. Otherwise, you will get disrupted. Second two creator economy elements has an amplification element, not disruption element. An amplification term I'm using to allude towards the speed to market. It empowers you, which is not efficiency play, but it will help you to being more competitive if you adopt this thing. And this is about the high-end skill work, which will be democratized because of this thing. And first element is a creator of products. So product design is a very complex skill, very high-end skill. Most of the products in any industry take 6 to 9 months of gestation period to create product, because the people who are involved in product designs are very few in the world. And because those are the choking points, and that's why it takes 6 to 9 months to come up with the new products. And this is where the speed will come into picture. You get a co-pilot, duet, or a digital assistant to do many high-end work, where it gets de-skilled to some extent. You get a ready-made stuff. I think we heard that interior designing work or architecture piece got assisted by certain things, correct? So, and 5 hours conversation happened in 2 minutes. So this is a creator economy element, so it gets amplified. Very high-end work, piece of work can be outsourced to a lower-end people with the element of the co-pilot concept in picture. So that is the amplification of human potential, and thus you provide the speed and velocity, and human greed will be satisfied faster, because we are consumer of many things and will consume more and more. And people worry about this adoption of AI technology, that it will take away the job loss, but it will not happen at a net level, because we are very greedy species. We will consume more products and more services, and thus more needs will evolve. And this creator economy element amplification will lead to the more products and more services, faster speed. And thus, the net job addition will happen. Second creator economy aspect which is getting impacted by amplification is about the creator of the knowledge. And the industry which is impacted big time positively around is this healthcare, life science, oil and gas, all the people who are doing research of deep research of certain things. And thus they would be able to discover the oil field, discover the new molecules, and discover the new medicines faster. Because the ingredients needed to create this research is a knowledge. And this knowledge filtering and knowledge extractions will happen faster, and knowledge abstraction will happen faster using generative AI technology. And thus you will see the faster. The COVID vaccine came faster in 18 months of time against a 5-year time historically, thanks to this kind of technology which was there playing in background. And that is a positive impact. So once we see the impact, you will realize that the fundamental role of a human being, which was a creator, is changing to the editor and reviewer. Abstraction of all this thing is that human will not create most of the things. Machine will create certain things, and human in loop will ensure it's edited and reviewed. And by nature, reviewer and editor jobs in your corporate parlance is high-end job. Correct? You have very few people who does the editor and reviewer. That would mean that a lot of people need to move up in value chain in the skill perspective. And that is the reskilling, refactoring we are talking about, which is a heavy lifting of human potential to be changing a role from a creator to the reviewer and editors across the functions. Now, this is a mammoth task, and this is the scale in which it has to happen, because you have bottom pyramid people who are doing creation job, and very people are doing this thing. How do we lift the skill segment of this set of people to become editor, reviewer, and the lower end people are the co-pilots and the engines of machines, correct? So I think it has started influencing corporate talent function, but I'm telling you it's influencing. Influenced are very few. Very few people have make a dent in the way the whole pyramid structure looks like, because pyramid will look very different. I think the reskilling and refactoring is potentially biggest hurdle to growth for any companies. I think bottleneck will be that, not your anything else, sales, marketing, demand, that is not the thing. But I think the reskilling, refactoring is the biggest bottleneck and biggest opportunity as well, both for individual and the people who are into the business of talent enablement, correct? It's an important function. And if you have abstract it the way I explained just now, then you are creating right scalable structure where this can be democratized and scale in an appropriate manner.
I think that's very insightful, when you layered it in the 5 different way, I think it's very easy for somebody to understand that, yes, this is the section I need to manage it this way, this is this way. So you can have different strategy as far as the talent management also goes. I mean, more I hear from you, I also understand that people have to be on their toe to realign and start understanding. And I'm sure it will set a lot of fear in the people's mind about the job displacement. Senior peoples especially, will I be able to cope up with these AI technologies? Will I be able to reskill myself and stay relevant and all? Ravi, would like to ask you, because Ravi, though heading the whole company, he loves to call himself as a people coach. So he loves being with people. He's a people guy with us. And I would like to know from you that what are company doing basically when employees have a worry about their job displacement? Because AI is there everywhere, and I mean, people are worried. What are the organizations doing it? What strategies they are adopting?
Sure. So before I answer that, Harish, I have a question for the audience. How many of you all have used ChatGPT or any AI tool? Wow, that's fantastic. Awesome. So all of us know the power of AI, right? It's not just talking about displacement of jobs which are at an entry level, right? We are talking about complex jobs. We are talking about jobs like graphic designers, content creators. We are talking about training roles, right? We are talking about SEO. All of this which we never thought, right, that AI would take over. AI is doing that, right? Now, if, I don't know if you have heard that news, a couple of weeks back, there's an organization in Poland. They have the first ever AI humanoid robot CEO, who's a part, her name is Mika. She sits on the board as well. And she sent the first video address to the employees. So now we understand the concern is fair.
Absolutely.
The concern is fair.
Yeah.
People have fear, people are overwhelmed, people are not able to understand, right? So from an organization point of view, the strategies are twofold, right? The first is psychological thing, right?
Sure.
We have to understand how we can make AI easy for our people. A lot of folks still don't know how it works. So we need to adapt to it, we need to embrace it, and we need to face the future. Only then we will be able to ride the storm, right, of disruption. The second thing that our organizations are doing is they're investing a lot on training, upskilling, reskilling, focus on learning, right? I mean, even though AI will take away jobs, but there are certain jobs which are, only humans can do. We have not been able to humanize AI, right? So we need to upskill our folks on skills like emotional intelligence, empathy, creative skills, complex problem solving. These are things that we need to upskill our folks. That is one part. We also need to reskill our folks. Let's say if we have technical guys, then they need to jump into it and understand how they can leverage AI to the benefit to improve efficiencies and stuff like that. The other thing is, if we have non-techie folks, right, then we have to make them aware of how it works. They can be users. They need to get exposure. We need not fear AI. We have to embrace it, and only then we will be able to ride the tsunami or the storm or whatever disruption is coming our way. That's what I would like to say, yeah.
I think tsunami is a word which gives, again, scare to the people who have lived in Tamil Nadu. But tsunami of disruption in positive way, if we are thinking about it. I think this reminds me of a statistics. If anybody you have to guess, let's imagine 2015 to 2020, I mean, those days we were not even talking about AI, at least here in India, so much about it. Which countries were doing huge work between this time? Any guesses? Which country has done most work between 2015 and 20? Any guess? Well, there's only two countries possible. China. China wrote 77,000 papers on artificial intelligence between these two times. Second was US. Third was India, about 25,000. 25,000 papers in 5 years, 5,000 per year. We're churning out 25 lakh STEM graduates every year. And we got 5,000 papers on AI. Sir, if we have to really leverage those things and not still stay as the people who are, let's say, in 98 and 96, sir, when we were outsourced, we were called as the high-end laborers, basically. We used to do those kind of work. We don't want to stay with that tech. We want to move up in the value chain. I think this is where my third eye comes. Impact influence is fine, but we need to understand that where is innovation coming from? The innovations comes from the university level, so research. I'm not sure we're investing enough to get that leverage of innovation. What's happening with the organizations? Arun, I would like to know from you. Arun holds strategic, the head position and I'm sure a university will be doing their part. But from innovation perspective, and we're not talking about just innovation, we need to add two words. Disruptive. Shagun, thanks for bringing that word. I think we need to have a disruptive entry. Second is, you do one-time disruptive innovation and forget about it. I think that's not going to happen. It got to be sustainable as well. What is organization doing to give that time and space to the employees to do this sustainable and disruptive innovation?
I think that's a good question, Harish, because in today's day and age where the change is happening at such a rapid pace, you have no choice but to innovate if you want to survive. Now, you definitely need both disruptive as well as sustainable innovation. The question which you bring out is very true. Like, what do we do for people inside the organization, and how do we cultivate a structure within the organization which will facilitate it? So the only way to do that, and at least what we've been practicing, is about building a fluid organization. So you break the boundaries around it, make people think more about data than procedures. So people are very siloed and very happy to sit in the little corner and say, this is my job, this is my role, and this is what I do. You break those barriers out, try to create a fluid organization. Everything gets driven by data. The moment you start doing that, people start thinking differently. You try to bring around a mindset shift. If you can bring that mindset shift, which runs as a program in the organization, you've got to run that. Unless you bring that in, rather than people saying that, hey, I've got X skill or Y skill or Z skill, and hence I should be paid so much or I should be doing so much, which is usually the case in the organization. You bring that mindset shift in to come back and make them think differently. The other part which is very important is also the disruptive part, which is where you want people to, obviously organizations are for profit, and there is a need to run the P&L every morning and every night. So you got to create an avenue of where we put a pocket of money, energy, focus, attention to try to help create the disruptive part of it. See, but once you do innovation, there's one big thing people have to remember, that it is not that you don't do it for the fear of missing out. You also got to remember the fear of messing up. You got to think from the day to operations. So today, what we talk today is facing the business. We got to solve business problems, but you can't mess up. You can't just create you can experiment aggressively, but you got to implement little thoughtfully about it. And that's a very key concern, because today we are in front of systems and customers who are at the leading edge. And I can't keep messing up things. And that's very critical for us. That whole mindset shift, the whole fluidity, the fluid organization element which comes in, I think those are the key elements which really help bring back what you call as data-driven effectual thinking. If you bring that kind of a model into play, I think we should do it. But I just wanted to quote two experiences, recent experiences. And I do travel to the US quite frequently. And some time back, I ended up in two universities in the US. And one was in the Penn State. And I was talking to the undergrads there in Com Science. And they ran a 4-credit course just on English, which was very interesting, which I thought it was English for business speaking, presentations and all of it. And then I started talking to the people there, and then I realized that they were doing a 4-course credit on how English is spoken in Europe to Eastern Europe to India to China to Southeast Asia. And I was very curious. First of all, we're wasting time. And then the professor comes back and tells me that, look, you're missing the point. Tomorrow's coding language is English. And if my students do not understand NLP and how you can do it, what am I going to do with these first-year kids if they don't understand this? 4th year, by the time they come back in, how am I going to teach them? That's a very interesting insight. I thought we all talk about business English and all of it, presentation skills in our colleges, but nobody pays attention to that. The second university I landed up was in Purdue. I was in Purdue, and I ended up there. And there I was talking to the professors, and we found that there are 2 4-credit courses just on problem solving. And I was curious of why not teach AI, why not teach the latest technology. And the principle was very simple. Look, skills will keep changing. If I can't teach my kids to problem solve, and this 2-credit courses on problem solving are the most aggressive courses in the university, which every student dreads to the nth degree about it. So it was a very interesting item of how you reskill people and how you create that mindset shift. And I think we as organizations in the country also have that onus to do it. If kids are being taught, and tomorrow's kids are getting taught, I think it's onus on our educational systems as well as us to really change the way we do things.
What do you think CEOs and CXO, you work very closely with these people, how can they inspire the whole organization to survive because survival is something, and also succeed in this new era of AI? What do you think is their role? How?
Yeah, so one thing I would say is, in some ways, I would go against the mood and say that the more things change, the more they remain same. Right? In terms of some of the basic things, especially at a human level, remain same. Right? They don't change so much in one lifetime. So at a CXO level, at a founder level, right, the motivational factors, how you inspire people, they more or less remain the same. You have to be able to appeal to people's core needs, right, their core motivations. And there are 2 sides. One is the positive side, which is inspiring them, showing them the vision, making sure that there is a common vision that people feel part of. Right? It's not just about creating a strong, glamorous vision unless people can see themselves as part of that future. Right? So that is the positive side. The other part is allaying the fears, because biggest part that going to stop people from taking risk is if they're afraid of taking risk. So combining these two, like balancing these two in terms of creating that positive, enthusiastic culture, as well as identifying that certain people are not going to be motivated just by positive things. They are going to be more driven by fear. So making sure that you are addressing both these kind of people, because you need both kinds of people. Right? And kind of connecting to the previous question where it was about innovation, sustainable and disruptive. Right? You need people who will be happy to run business as usual. You need to serve customers of today. Right? You can't keep taking too many changes, too many risks in that business as usual part. And you need those people to be motivated, to be able to give their 100% and be rewarded for it, while there are people who will be motivated more by change. So you need to create space for both these people, both these kind of people in your organization. Obviously, as a leader, as I said, nothing much changes because ultimately you have to lead by example. And so you need to be able to reward. There are certain areas where you need to be able to reward efforts, not just the results. And because when you're taking risk, results are not always going to show up immediately. In terms of destructive, in terms of disruptive innovation, you'll probably be failing 99 projects and one will succeed. So how do you make sure that people are still willing to put their 100% on those 99 projects? Because if you don't do those 99 failures, maybe the 100 success will never come. So I think as a founder, as CXOs, it's this balancing act of making sure that today's P&L is showing the results that the board wants, that the stakeholders want, but at the same time thinking that few steps ahead, right? Rewarding the right people. So ultimately it goes to talent, goes to people, that are you able to get the right kind of people in your organization in the right place and giving them that power and the freedom as well as that safety of that they will be able to do what they believe is right, and they know that, okay, one mistake is not going to throw me out of the team. Sure. Right? What we kept hearing through this whole World Cup, right? That there was a process, there was a confidence given to each player that go ahead and do what you are supposed to do. It's okay if you fail, right? We lost the final, it's fine, but we won whatever 10 games, 11 games, right? You will not always win the final, it's fine, but you'll still go through that, achieve certain success, and that's what you need in a team. That's feeling of safety and common vision.
I think that's very well said. Starting with the vision, basically where we're going to contribute to protecting them and ensuring that failure is a choice, it's not a problem. I think that's wonderful insight, more from the inspiration perspective. Let's come to the last and most important point of this. We have analyzed impact and influence and innovation and inspiration. What do we need? What are the imperatives at this point of time? Do we really, Girish, I think you're founder of the company. I would like to check with you. Do we really have the technological landscape, the infrastructure-wise, are we really ready for leveraging this AI wave, what we're talking about?
So I think from the infrastructure point of view, I would try to cover it in 2 points. One is the change of AI, because I think NVIDIA, sir, I was reading about something, they are saying they are melting GPUs today. So the amount of GPUs that they are burning, it's amazing. So I think the key important part is how much is the affordability of organizations to host AI within the same, right? And thanks to there is always हम बोलते हैं ना कि जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है. The cloud was the first thing to come before AI has reached to its stage. And possibly AI will give us that power of infrastructure and everything. I think the second most important piece where we are talking about disruption and the infrastructure is the change that every organization need to go through, right? I'll quote a very small example of automation that we were doing for an international customer, which was basically, there was a robotic software robot bots which came some time back. And we had to create the login IDs for those software bots, right? And obviously from a technology point of view, we went ahead and created some 200 IDs, right? And somebody from HR and admin came in saying, this is an international customer, they said, we maintain a ratio of people to the number of restrooms that we have, right? And suddenly we have observed that there are 200 people onboarded on this office, and we don't have the equivalent restroom. I mean, the point I'm trying to bring about is the change. I think what Nilesh brought out is right thing, that it is also important how we bring about the change, right? These new things, AI, they're very excited. It gives a lot of motivation to especially the techies to work on those new technologies. But I think it is the change management, even from an infrastructure perspective, or what your client wants, that is going to be important from an infrastructure perspective. So these are the two elements of change required from an infrastructure perspective, as well as the infrastructure to adopt the new technologies of AI.
Okay, that's interesting. I think, Nilesh, it tempts me to ask you this question because you come from the data security kind of background. Are we ready from that perspective when we talk about data security, data privacy? I think with AI, anybody can do anything. I mean, people are scared. Like he's scared as open your mobile and 3 minutes I'm going to send you the SMS without having a number. I mean, it's all scary. So are we ready from the data security and data privacy perspective?
Okay, so the answer that you want to hear is probably yes, but answer that you'll get is no, right? So, and I'll take it in 2 parts. One is as a user, right? As a user, my privacy of my data, security of my data. Like, as a user, I don't have any options today to secure my data, right? From prying AI or from the AI that I want to use. Like, there is not much control that I have in terms of what happens to that data. And at least in the very short term, there is no solution to that as a user, right? So the only solution that will come from is lobbying with these larger players like Google, Microsoft, Apple, who are the platform creators, to come up with solutions, to come up with frameworks that will ensure that users have more control on their data. And hopefully some decentralized platforms and solutions as well. But that's where the data security and data privacy part is today, as far as the AI context is there, from a user perspective. From an enterprise perspective, it's not much better, but it's slightly better. Because as an enterprise, your concerns are different. Right? So your concerns are more towards the impact on the business, financial impact and all that. And there you have certain tools and certain frameworks that you can use to make sure that you are controlling the data that goes to AI and it does not negatively impact your business. And I mean, not to pitch Seclor, but yeah, Seclor is one of the technology that our customers have been asking us recently because of more and more of this Gen AI thing coming in, right? And they're worried because they are storing all their data in clouds. Their employees are using so much of all these AI tools to write maybe a sales email to a customer or a prospect, right? I mean, they're putting in sensitive information in that sales. There's some plugin on Chrome or something which is reading that data and giving them a jazzy email. But our enterprise has no idea where this customer data is now going. Because this tool, this Chrome plugin, was never approved by the enterprise. Or even if it was approved, it's hosted somewhere in some cloud, it will disappear tomorrow. Right? Or there are documents lying on Microsoft 365, lying somewhere else, and there is sensitive data there. All the AIs are scanning these documents left, right, and center, and you don't know. So encryption at each stage, that has become almost a mandatory requirement whenever there is sensitive data. But at least enterprises have tools and money to be able to invest in that. But there are certain, I mean, there is still that, inertia of thinking that it's okay, right? Because there are other priorities. There are priorities that the board will care about, things that you can put on a PPT, right? Things that you can put on an annual report. So at the bottom layer, there is still a lot of inertia in terms of solving real problems when it comes to security and privacy. But it's changing because as I was talking to some of you before the panel, it is that the CISOs are directly getting charge sheeted for data breach. Right? There's a case that happened just earlier this month in the US. So it's coming very close to people now who are in the position of taking those decisions. So I think enterprise level things are slightly better. They need to be much better because ultimately they impact users. And as enterprises create better frameworks and better solutions for data security and privacy, I think we as users will also end up benefiting from that indirectly.
I think this brings me to the last question, but most important as well, because when we talk about AI, people are getting excited as well as worried. Worried for something which is very important for all of us to think about it, that who's going to protect us? Do we really have the right legal framework, right ethical framework, for example? Legal somebody might put as well. Who will put an ethical framework on where the search is going, where the AI is taking us? What's the moral framework? Ashwini, I would like to know from you, what is the ethical, legal, and moral framework, if at all it's available? What should be there?
Sure, thank you. Just on a lighter note, I'm feeling the pressure a tester generally feels when he's handed over a code to test on the last day of the sprint. The timer is right in front of me. Anyways, jokes apart, yes, so especially in Indian context, what we have figured out is, and I'll just build on what we have heard from other esteemed speakers, Dr. Chaudhary earlier. The government has a responsibility, obviously, to come up with some guidelines and framework. And learning from the lesson which was quoted by Dr. Chaudhary, the license Raj, right? Government should not become a barrier to the innovation, and AI has to thrive basically on innovation, right? How do you create an environment in India where you encourage the innovation, which is absolutely must for the evolution of AI? However, at the same time, you're running on a thin ice, right? It is too powerful. It is getting more and more powerful as you go with every passing day. How do you put the basic checks and balances in place so that it is not misused, so that it is not used in a way which is contrary to human benefits? So basic fundamental values which are to be protected by any country's constitution, right? India's constitution has to be protected by our framework around AI as well. That everyone has a right to privacy. Is AI system helping you maintain it, or is it going to violate it? That becomes one of the premise of creating a framework around it. So government, to my knowledge, is taking steps in India to create that kind of framework. I myself was pleasantly surprised when I came to know last year that there's a AI portal which has got launched by Government of India. Probably not everyone may be aware, but please search for it, and you should definitely spend some time exploring it. They're encouraging all the AI enthusiasts, all the organizations, companies experimenting, developing AI solutions to come forward and contribute. They want to collaboratively evolve it to the next level, and that's the power of people, and that's the only right way forward. We know that, I was talking to other colleagues earlier, a few days back, that in the industry, knowing that any kind of transformation which is required, like driven by AI or any other transformative technology, the fundamental aspect always becomes people. How do you manage people? How are they embracing that change? So that people aspect is the most important, more than the technology. Technology will keep evolving. It has always been the case for decades, as we know in the known history. But how are people able to manage it becomes the fundamental core deciding factor. And if you drive this as a people movement, which is a step taken by government in India, I believe this is the right step forward. The kind of work which is some organizations like NASSCOM is doing, they have come up with the responsible AI toolkit, if some of us are aware of it. So I think, again, that is collaboratively built with industry partnership, that it is a toolkit which helps you understand what are the do's and don'ts when you're building an AI solution. How do you ensure that you do not cross the limits of morality, and you do not violate the ethics code, which is still being evolved. There's no one right sort of ethical code, right? Different countries are having different ethical codes. Morality could be just as simple as it is right or wrong, but ethical code takes it to the next level, right? So while you still evolve it, you need to create an ecosystem and framework. It does not discourage innovation, but at the same time, it is setting up some right frameworks for its constructive evolution without violating the human's fundamental rights of privacy. I think that's the crux of it. I'll just take a pause with the shortest time available to me.
Sure.
I'd like to add.
Yeah, sit and we'll go.
So I just want to add, just to talk about the India's position as a country in this space. I think all of you must be aware that AI Summit happened in UK recently. As a sideline of that thing, the 30 people member team was created, 15 from UK and 15 from India, as a part of Government to Government Connect. And I was a part of one of the invitees among the 15 people of that initiative. And I think UK is looking for India to help creating trustworthy, responsible AI. And we collectively discussed for one full day as a sideline of AI Summit, this thing, that how India can help forming the trustworthy and responsible AI for UK as a country. So they certainly look for, because of the deep expertise in the technology, the kind of digital stack we have built at scale for the country, and thus our credibility at the world stage is extremely high. That what India can teach on this thing. And this is not one example, this is another example. We as a part of G20 chairmanship, again, a forum has been created by Ministry of Information and Technology. And again, I'm inviting of the GPI initiative, which is Global Partner of Artificial Intelligence, in which all the world G20's countries are collaborating, and India is chairing those events and sharing what we can do as a community, as a global community, to create a trustworthy and the responsible AI. And believe me, the lot of work India is driving at a global stage on this thing. And I just want to give the import, while we can afford to fear, but I think, take an example, if all of you are taking various kind of pills, correct, for the headache, fever and all those things, if you start fearing that everything has a cyanide into it, correct, we will not be able to survive as a mankind. It's a kind of that. But if we could handle those kind of thing also as a global community, as a human species, that we are able to control the drug safety, we are able to control food safety, we are able to control the nuclear safety, then why not AI safety? So my suggestion is that this is the first time as a mankind we are seeing a technology which can see like human, which can speak like human, which can listen like human, we can read like human, correct? Never ever in the history of the technology world across the technology, since the motor has been invested, computing power has been, this technology has never come into picture. So fearing is not an option. Correct? I can only mimic the closest phrase which comes into soch kar, samajh kar, adopt kar. Soch kar, samajh kar, consume kar. Correct? That is the only phrase. And we have to keep doing that thing. I think that if you start fearing, I think we'll be losing such a beautiful technology's power. And as a country, we have everything in place. Government intent, infrastructure, we are a little bit this thing, and the human capital. Correct? But one thing which we are lacking, which earlier you pointed out about one question, which country publish more number of this thing?
AI paper.
Yeah. So I think one of the government to government discussion which came out, India as a country has only 387 PhDs in AI. Just 387 as a population of 1.4 billion, you just alluded, as against China having 10,000 PhDs. I think this is the one gap. Again, it boils down to talent and skilling and all this thing. Why we as a country are not churning out this kind of thing? Because we would be eventually the largest consumer of AI in the world because of sheer population and the kind of vibrant economic activity which this country produces. But from there consuming to the creator role, I think that is something which we as a country has to create, and the PhD is one of the biggest vehicle to do that thing. And I think collectively industry, government and academia has to work together to create this volume to 50,000 or 1 lakh kind of number. How do we get into that thing? How do we make it attractive to the students? I think this is a bigger problem to solve. Everything else will be taken care of, I think.
I think that's brilliant. Let's hear from Sachin last, and maybe Sachin, you can give also this one-line agenda for everybody sitting in here, industry guys, government is here, we have the institutions and all.
So I think both Hasit and Ashwin covered. What I would like to cover, because being on the NASSCOM's regional council, I think there are a lot of initiatives being taken by Government of India as well as NASSCOM, and I wanted to talk about, because the question is whose responsibility it is. It is government or corporates or institutions or individual. So I think at government level, if you look at legal framework, there is a national advisory for AI and personal data protection bill, which is going to set up the foundation. On legal framework side, organizations like MIT and Niti Aayog, they are setting up those things. NASSCOM, as Ashwin said, they already set up the whole toolkit for AI. At organization level now, I think Nilesh touched upon CISO role being enhanced. I take example of my own organization. Now, earlier we used to have InfoSec policies. Now we have been bringing in AI policies as well, because it is very important at individual level we should be aware of what my role as an individual, and as Hasit mentioned, why not focus on AI safety. So I think that's what is important. So that's where I think we are progressing. It's work in progress. We have to do a lot of things because it's a disruption, and disruption will require a lot of changes to happen. With that, I'll come to the last point, which is common for all of us. So if I have to say one-line agenda for everyone, I'll say collaborate, innovate, educate. We need to all work together, educate new generation which is coming, and innovate things which are all going. Because I think it's a question of responsible AI, and I think inclusive growth that we are looking at.
That's wonderful. I think we can have one more person telling us single line agenda.
I can go there.
Yes, sir.
So I think my last piece is automation has been there since 1970s. We have multiplied in humans, and employment, I mean, no offense to all the big four consulting companies talking about so many million jobs will go and all of that. But I think this is an opportunity for the human race to adopt this as well. Right from start, every technology has disrupted and we have adopted to it. To all the numbers, Chaudhary sir, you were saying, one number to add is, by 2030, there will be 85 million jobs which will be vacant, right? So now, even as an organizations, you would have that gap always. So we need to think about how do we fill that gap to have the minimum amongst those. So I think automation has been there. AI is just a new tool which has been to the party newly. Thank you.
I think I can keep going on and on, but thank you so much. I think this was wonderful insights from all of you leaders. I'm sure there's a lot of things we have learned and still digesting. It's an in-process thing. Thank you so much.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.